All right, we'll trust that that's correct. And welcome. Please feel free to go ahead and just unmute yourself. We can just talk. There's certainly no worries about crosstalk today or anything like that. So my my concern here, of course, is to make sure that your needs are met in this
Yeah.
session, and that uh, everything we need to know about, or that you want to know about mobile apps are taken care of. And then, of course, I'll answer questions about anything. Unfortunately, the showing the mobile apps is fairly easy and fairly quick for Canvas because uh, they operate a lot like the Canvas um, web interface that you use on a computer,
Mhm.
and they're exceptionally powerful. Um, with Blackboard, for instance, there were severe limitations in what both teachers and students could do
Mhm.
on a phone or on a tablet. The mobile apps, Blackboard mobile apps, while they were pioneering and they were the best you could get early on, uh, they suffered from a lack of development over the years. And as a result, the uh, use of Blackboard by mobile devices was quite challenging. Canvas has done a wonderful job with their mobile apps.
Mhm.
And let's take a look at those. Um, I'm going to share my iPhone screen here. We'll see how that goes. Um, we'll all I do is tap on the screen and select the share button. I should probably show this at some point, but I'm going to go ahead and use it first, and then later on I'll show you how this works on the phone. I can't do that from the phone. I'll have to go back to my computer and use my document camera to do that. But let's just see how it goes here. I select to share screen, and I tell the phone to start the broadcast. It counts me down, and there's my iPhone screen. Um, I'm sharing my device audio, and I'm sharing the screen. So I need to get out of this and get back to my phone's screens, my phone's home screen. And you're seeing what I'm seeing on my phone. Is that coming through for you okay?
Yes.
Great. All righty. Well, here are the two, or right in the center of the screen. I can't really point to those. That's one limitation. Right in the center of the screen, you see two Canvas logos. And one is labeled in red is labeled student, and the other teacher,
Mm. Okay.
with a big number over top of the teacher app. You see those?
Yes.
That 1869, that's the number of submissions. Well, it's a little bit, it's a few other things as well, but most of that number represents the number of submissions in the online faculty certification course that are yet to be graded, which gives you an idea of the uh, load that's on online learning pathways right now. We've never seen a number anything approaching that.
Mm.
I know they're working madly today to reduce that number. It'll be interesting to see how that changes as we go along.
Mm.
But those are your two mobile apps. There's one for the students and one for the teachers.
Mm.
I think the student mobile app is probably the more critical of the two because as faculty, you all are much more likely, of course, to have a computer, almost certain to have a computer that you can use to manage and create and manage your Canvas courses. The teacher app is a convenience. It allows you to monitor your course and to um, do a certain amount of course development while you're away from your computer in a situation where you have access to the web through your mobile device. Um, it works quite well. The teacher app works quite well over a cellular connection. So you can be, not that we're any of us out and about much right now, but it does theoretically at least gives you the capability to manage your course while you're on the go. But the student app is especially critical because talking to faculty over the last several weeks, it's pretty obvious that a lot of their students access the web primarily or exclusively through their mobile devices, often enough their smartphones. So the indeed, for many students, that's the only option they have. So it's critical that if they're going to be able to take advantage of instruction of the district at this point, where everything is online or done through Zoom, it's critical that they be able to do that through their phones. And as I've demonstrated in earlier sessions, Zoom works exceptionally well. And as we're seeing right now, since I'm doing this, I'm running this class through the phone right now. The Zoom works exceptionally well on mobile devices. Now we're going to look a little bit at how well Canvas does. But it is critical for your students. And it's something you always have to keep in the back of your mind. Many of your students will be accessing your online instruction through their phones because it's the only option they have. It's the only way many of them can get connectivity because they don't have an internet connection at home either. So this is a pretty critical topic and one that I hope the recording turns out well here. We'll see. This is new for me too, to do it this way, to present this way at this level. So let's take a look at the student app. You'll be able to tell when I tap on something on my screen because what I tap on will dim and then brighten. So if you look at that student app, when I tap on it, you'll see it. Actually, you didn't see it. Darn, I didn't see it on my screen there. There it went. But it did work, but it didn't show that what I tapped on. Hopefully that will catch up with us here. And here is what, let's back up a little bit here. Here's what the mobile app looks like. But let me sign out here. You did see log out there. This is what it looks like when the student first accesses it. The first thing they're prompted to do is find their school. Apparently we can send them a QR login, a QR code for login too. I'm not sure exactly how we would do that. I'll look into that. But they can tap on Find My School and they just start typing San Diego. And there we are, the San Diego Community College District, right in the middle there. Obviously, our Canvas system is a shared system among all the colleges and continuing ed. We only have one system. So there's not a separate system for Miramar and Mesa and so on. So this is what they want. We have to point that out to them sometimes. So they tap on that and they're then taken to the login screen for our Canvas instance. They enter their 10-digit number. I'm going to be using a test student here, which has a different login. So let me type that in. One of the limitations, of course, in using the smartphone is the ability to type large amounts of text. But some other vendors have provided some ingenious solutions to that, and we'll take a look at those as we go along. Then they just entered the password. This is not a high security password, so I can go ahead and show it. And log in. Tap the login button, and if I type that right, yep, looks like I did. Then the student's desktop pops up, just like it would on the on a computer, and they can scroll up and down. They can see any student groups they're members of, things like that. Another topic. And accessing their courses is done just the same way as it would be on a computer. They just tap on the tile that corresponds to the course that they want to go into. Like I tapped on that one in the upper left, the ISCD3, and there it is. If there's a home page in the course, this one doesn't have a home page set, but if there's a home page, they can get it by tapping on the word home there at the top. But the entry point for this course is set to the Canvas modules. If it were not, they would see the home page here, or they could go back and go to the modules this is their course menu here. It's identical to the course menu that would display on the computer, and they can just tap modules and go to their content modules. I'm seeing a little bit of delay here. I have this up on I'm logged into the session or into the Zoom session, both on my phone and on my computer, and I'm looking over at it there, and I'm seeing you all, and I'm seeing the shared screen as well. So I see that's a little bit of a delay. If I get ahead of myself too far, please complain bitterly. I'll slow down. So the students can view their course content. You view their modules just like they would on a computer. They can see documents, including graphics and so on. They can see embedded videos. They can play the embedded videos. And they can stop and start and so on. So they basically can access most any content that you put up there. And the navigation is quite intuitive. It's easy enough to see how to get back to the page or back to the module. They can pull up documents. Most any type of common document format will display, because Canvas has viewers for this. There it is. They can zoom in on the document, make reading a little easier if they need to. And at the bottom of the screen there, you see the next and previous buttons for navigation through the module, just as you would on a computer. So this is really a pretty comprehensive experience for them. Something that was just impossible to do earlier with Blackboard, partially due to limitations in Blackboard and partially due to limitations in the mobile phone operating systems, were submission of assessments. It was always possible to submit quizzes. Let's see here. Looking for a module with a quiz here. There we go. Down at the bottom of that module, there's a quiz. If I tap onto that, the student gets some information about the quiz as they normally would, but there's a button down at the bottom of the screen that allows them to take the quiz. So they can take the quiz from their phone, which is pretty critical. Okay, Camtasia Windows and Mac are free to district employees. Unfortunately, false. I just tap on the correct answer and go ahead. Camtasia allows the post-production, incorporation of full motion, editing of your recorded audio. It'll do all of those things. Camtasia Windows provides speech recognition assistance for captioning. True, though we don't use it much anymore because YouTube automatic captioning has gotten so good. And 4, you can use Camtasia to provide a tour of your online course. You can read this, and the answer is all of the above. As you can tell, I like all of the above as an answer for multiple choice questions. My students very quickly learned when I was a classroom teacher for 15 years, very quickly learned that if they were answering multiple choice questions, they didn't have any idea of an answer, and all of the above was one of the options, that about 70% of the time they get the question right if they tried all of the above. So the student can take the quiz, can scroll up and down, review it, and so on, and then submit it by just tapping the submit button. Are you sure? Yeah, sure. They don't get all of the information about which questions they've submitted and things like that they do in the computer interface, but it's really quite functional. They can take their quizzes on their phones quite effectively, even if the quizzes contain essay questions. They can type the essay questions on their phone, though that can be somewhat challenging, of course, if they're using the virtual screen keyboard on the phone. It's something to keep in mind when you're doing essay questions and tests on Canvas. It can be very challenging for your students who are using phones to access your course. And I guarantee that some of your students are doing that. In some cases, many of your students are doing that. So how could you alleviate that situation? Well, when you're creating tests in Canvas, one of the question types that you can select, of course, is the essay question, which results when the student takes the test, the student being presented with a text box that they then type the answer into. But there's another type of similar question called a file upload question that you can use. And that file upload question is basically, it's like a homework assignment in that the student is presented with a Dropbox where they can upload a file to satisfy the answer to that test question, except that the question is part of a test rather than part of a homework assignment. So you have the ability to time what they're doing, or to set time limits on what they're doing, and provide it to them in the context of a test. But it allows them to create their answers, to type their answers in another application other than right into a text box in Canvas. And that's pretty critical because of the capabilities built into some of the text editing applications on mobile phones, notably Microsoft Word. Students who may not be able to afford Microsoft Office for their computers, assuming they have a computer, can get Microsoft Word for free on their phones. Or I think it's still free. If not, it's just a modest cost, a few bucks. I think it is free, though, still. And Microsoft Word has an amazing capability on the phone that I'll show you here in a little bit when I show you how students can submit a homework assignment. But you can use file upload questions in your tests as well to eliminate the students having so much difficulty typing long essay answers in on the virtual keyboard on the phone. So this student just took a quiz. Indeed, let's look now at how the student can submit a homework assignment. I've got a homework assignment here in topic 1. It's this one right here. You can't see my finger, I'm sorry. It's about in the middle of the screen. It's entitled Define Screencasting. Little icon next to it tells us that it's a homework assignment that the student can either, it's probably going to require the student to upload a file. That was totally impossible with the mobile applications in Blackboard. Students could not submit homework assignments. They sure can in Canvas, though. If we go to that homework assignment, the student can see the instructions, the description for the assignment. They're asked to define the term screencasting, list 3 applications for it, and list hardware and software requirements, and upload the answer as a Word document. Okay. And below that, they would have a submit assignment button. This student, when I was practicing this morning, has already submitted this assignment. So the button says resubmit assignment.
Mm.
Remember that in Canvas, students can submit homework assignments as many times as they like, and you can't control that. You can control which assignment you grade, which one you will accept, but you can't stop them from trying. It's an interesting decision on Canvas's part, but that's true in the computer in the web interface as well as the mobile interface. That's just a basic property of Canvas. So let's resubmit this assignment just by tapping on that button there. We're asked to choose a file. This is something you used to not be able to do on the iPhone. It's something that was possible on Android phones for years because the Android operating system has a file manager built into it. The Apple iPhone operating system, iOS, did not for years, but Apple finally added one, thank goodness, and they call it the Files app. But before I submit this assignment, I realized, whoa, just a second, I haven't created my answer yet. Whoa, it's asking me to upload a file. What am I going to do? Well, I can go to my app store and I can get Microsoft Word for free. And I've got that here on my computer, or on my, well, it is a computer on my phone. It's more powerful than a computer that landed the lunar module in 1969. So I can just search for Word rather than scroll through my screens looking for it. There it is. There's Microsoft Word in the middle of the screen. I just tap to go into it. Sorry, old phone. It's a little slow. Don't want to open a file. I want to create a new one. So I can just start a blank document by tapping on the option in the upper left there. And here I have a blank document. And I can start typing. I'm typing on my virtual keyboard, but that's kind of a pain. Even if I lay it down and type with both index fingers and so on, it's still pretty tedious. That's not such a big deal with Microsoft Word on the phone, on either an iPhone or an Android phone, however, because of the little button that you can see just above the keyboard in the lower right-hand corner of the text entry screen for Microsoft Word here. That little icon looks like a microphone, and it is. Okay, I have to think for a minute about what I want to type here. And then I tap that microphone icon in the lower right. Oh shoot, why is it not available? Huh. Oh, I know why it's not available, because Zoom is using it. Interesting. I need to show you this. So what I'm going to do, okay, I got to think about this because I don't want to set up a feedback loop here. Let's see, I can use the microphone on my computer so you can hear me. Let me unmute that.
Make sure I'm not.
Oh, that.
Okay.
All right, I'm gonna have to turn off the speaker in my phone, so I won't be able to hear you. Right off the bat, let me get out a screen share here for a second to do that. And go back to Zoom. And mute my speaker so that I'm not going to get feedback. You should still be hearing me. Now let me unmute.
Okay.
All right, that should work.
Now I'm going to mute my microphone on the phone. Are you still hearing me okay through my computer microphone here?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. All right. Now let's go back to the screen share. And go back to the student app. It should be in the same place we were. But, oh, no, I was in Word. Excuse me. Okay. Microphone not available. Shoot. I could swear this worked fine this morning.
I should tell you what I did with my phone.
Sorry, I'm not. How can I show you? I know what I can do. I can show you this through my computer share using my document camera. So I'm going to drop the phone out of the meeting for a minute and okay, here I am back on my computer. You should be hearing me now there. I'm going to go ahead and share my computer screen to be able to share what is capable in Microsoft Word with you. That's one thing apparently that is that would be difficult to do running exclusively from the phone. Everything is a learning curve. All right, I am now Oops, I think I shared the wrong screen. All right, let's stop that share. Bring Zoom back over onto my primary monitor. Share my screen. And bring up my Document Cam software. If you've got enough toys, there's a way to work around just about anything. There we go. Now you should be seeing my iPhone a different way. This, of course, is an alternative to sharing the screen on your phone, but you can't carry your computer, necessarily carry your computer and your document camera everywhere with you, whereas you can with the phone. This is the first thing we've found so far that really didn't work well, just using the phone itself to run the session. And that was kind of a quirk in that the microphone, Word apparently didn't want to share the microphone with Zoom. Oh, I could swear I got that to work this morning. I'll tinker with that again later, but let's just get this a little closer here. Now I'm going to go back to Word on my phone. And I should now be able, oops, I've got that a little too zoomed in a little too far there. Back that out a little bit. There's our little microphone button down there at the bottom of the screen. And this, let's hope Zoom, Microsoft Word will buy this time.
How did it? Looks like it changed.
Is a technique by which one shares their or records their computer screen in full motion while also recording voiceover. This allows you to demonstrate software and other concepts in a manner similar to what the student would experience if they were standing in your office looking over your shoulder while you showed them something on your computer screen. Period. The video which results is normally posted online so that the student can view it at their convenience, anytime and as often as they like. Period. New paragraph. New line. Applications for screencasting include lecture capture, comma, software tutorials, comma, PowerPoint lectures, comma, and anything else that can be brought up on your computer screen. It's an extremely flexible technique and limited only by your imagination. Period. Software tools such as Camtasia, Snagit, Screencast-O-Matic, and even Zoom can be used to create screencasts. Hardware requirements include a computer and a microphone. No other hardware is essential, period. That's pretty phenomenal. I hope you were able to see that screen well enough to see that I think the only word that the speech recognition missed was Camtasia, which is which is not a word. It's a brand name that has no relation to reality. And that comes free with Microsoft Word. So your students can actually voice fairly extensive papers, especially if they've written something out beforehand. They can read it to Microsoft Word and get it in there. Or they can, of course, upload the Word document to their phones before they, if they have a computer. But if they only have the phone, they can realistically create fairly extensive documents using the free Microsoft Word app, which is available for Android as well, despite the somewhat strained relationships between Google and Microsoft these days. And they can submit fairly complex, or they can create fairly complex homework assignments. I can get rid of the lower part of the screen there. I can now go and save this. Let's see. I believe, yeah, that's under let me go back. That's under the little ellipses here in the upper right. So students, there is a little bit of a learning curve to using this app, but it's a whole lot easier to use than Microsoft Word on the computer. So they can go there and they can tap save. They're asked where to save it, and their options on an iPhone anyway are on my iPhone, the Files app, which is where it's going to go, or they can save it to their Microsoft OneDrive account if they have that activated, which is also free for limited use anyway. I do have to name the file, and here I can't really, I don't think I can do that by voice recognition, so I have to type a name in. Let's just call this screencasting definition. I'm going to call that 2 because I think I used that file name before when practicing. So I just type the file name and type save, or hit save in the upper right hand corner there, he said. Why is it not taking it? Oh, I have to tell it where to put it. I'm going to send it to the Files app. And I have some folders in the Files app, and I want it to go in the Word folder. Save. Let's see. Okay, it saved it. So that's sitting, waiting for me in my file manager in Word. So now I can go back to the Canvas student app, which should remember where I was. Yeah. Oh, nope. Waited too long. Okay, let's go back to that course, to the module, it was in that first module, to the Define Screencasting homework assignment, and resubmit the assignment. And I'll go to Files. No, I'm not going to leave to go to the staff meeting, so we'll keep going here. Go to Files. I have my, let me get that out of the way. Irritating little thing. Okay, I can go to my Word files. And there it is, screencasting number 2. Definition 2. And click done. And there, it has submitted the file. Oh, rather, it's waiting for me to submit the file. I tap the submit button up there. And the student just submitted a homework assignment that was created on the phone. They could do the whole thing. They could satisfy the entire assessment cycle there on their phones with no access to a computer. And that was not an exceptionally long document, but if they needed to submit a much longer document, they could write it out longhand on a piece of paper and read it to the phone. It would probably look a little better. The phone, you probably noticed or may have noticed, the speech recognition in Word is set to listen for pauses in your speech. And so if you have to stop and think, it drops a period at the end of the last thing you said. So you might have to be a little understanding about your students' submissions if they contain lots of extra periods and capital letters and things like that. But the text should be quite good, even if they did it, even if they spoke it into their phones and used the speech recognition feature in Word. It's phenomenally accurate. Speech recognition has come so far in the last few years. It's truly amazing what you can do with it now. So the student just submitted that assignment. And we can go back. I'm just going to stick with the document camera for the moment because that's a little less cognitive load for me. We saw earlier that running the Zoom meeting on the phone actually worked surprisingly well. And everything was going fine until I hit that issue where the Word didn't want to share the microphone with Zoom. Everything else was going fine. So that's a nice thing to know. Of course, you are seeing my notifications that pop up on my phone. That's one of the irritating things about it, but that happens. Okay, let's see what else students might need to do here. We've seen they can see their content. They can work their way through their modules. They can check their grades on the phone. Here we see the student has submitted defined screencasting, but apparently there was a previously graded attempt on that one, and the student can see what they submitted. I can see that they got 6 out of 10. Little circular art gives them a visual feel for how well they did. They can go to submission and rubric and see what they submitted. They can get the comments that you might have left for them, including video comments that you might have left.
All right, test student 1. You've done a great job with the definition. Couldn't do any better myself.
They can see any files that you might have uploaded for them. And they can even see the rubric that was, if there's a rubric available, they can see a representation of the rubric that you use to grade the submission. So there's really not much that they can't see, or not much in the way of feedback that they can't get that they would have access to on their computer if they were using a computer to access this this submission. I don't think they can see the markup feedback that you do. I don't know of a way for them to see that on the phone. But the comments and any video comments you leave and things like that will be available to them on the phone through their grades tool. And just keep walking back. They can even access your Confer Zoom app if you use that to give them access to their recorded Zoom, to any recorded Zoom sessions that you'd have. This does not work terribly well on the phone because it's not adaptive. They didn't design it to be used on a phone, but the student can always expand the screen or zoom in on the screen and then move the screen about to see whatever they need to see. And there are their event recordings. If they tap on that, there are the recordings that I have on the Zoom cloud for them. And they can look at those and access those. Doesn't work as well as it might, but that's not a function of Canvas or of Zoom, but of the design of the Confer Zoom app. If in fact the student wants to access one of your Zoom meetings and you put a link in your Canvas course that leads them directly to your personal meeting room, that works beautifully on the phone. They do have to allow the app to open a new tab. That's the same on the computer. Then they're dropped into the Zoom app on their phones, and they can join the Zoom meeting in progress. I'm not going to do that because I'll have some sound issues if I do that. I'm just going to kind of cancel out of that. But that works like a shot. Done. So students can view their content. They can submit homework assignments. They can take quizzes. And they can take part in discussions, graded or otherwise. We go to the modules and I've got this course set so the students have to access all of their content through the modules. I haven't given them access to the assignments link in the course menu or the discussions link in the course menu or the quizzes link in the menu.
That was me.
There's a good question in the chat tool that I'm going to address in just a minute when I get through with this thought. Just check the chat tool. I saw one come through there. But anyway, students have to access everything in this course through the modules, which is a recommended pedagogy because A, it makes it easier for the students in the long run because they only have one place to go for everything, which is the modules tool. Also, it requires them to at least see the context in which that activity is placed in amongst your course content. So they at least it encourages them at least to read your lecture notes or view your PowerPoint presentations or however you convey information to them in Canvas before they take an assessment or participate in the discussion or whatever. So that's a recommended pedagogy, is to make them access everything through the modules. I do have a believe nope, I do not have one there. It's in that module. Oh, I did. Ah, there it is. No. Nope, that is an assignment. All right. Just a second. I need to check this on my computer and find that one. Because on my computer and as the teacher, of course, I have access to the menu, to the full menus. What can I do with screencasting? So where is that posted? It is in topic one. That's interesting. Is that not published? CD3. Make sure I'm in the right course here. That is interesting because what I'm trying to show you is that students can participate in discussions as well. So why is that not showing up in my module 1 here? This is what I'm looking for, but that is an assignment rather than a discussion. And I don't know why that's not showing up as such here. That's a mystery I'll look at later. What I'm going to do very quickly is make the discussions link available in the course menu to students so that we can see this. All right, let's go back to the course menu and get out of this course and then get back in. Huh. I'm not in the same course somehow. Sorry about this. I don't want to spend a whole lot more time on this. How can I get that to update here?
Dave, can I ask you a question?
Sorry, that's a mystery to me, why that's not showing up. I will look into that. But suffice to say that students are completely capable of participating in discussions on their phones. Try that. In another course here. There we go. There are no discussions. Shoot. Probably go in. This one certainly has some discussions in it. There we go. Students are given a prompt. They can hit reply. They can type a message. Hit done.
Dave, are we supposed to be seeing that on the
And
screen?
the message is submitted.
I don't know. We're not seeing it.
Yeah, Dave, we don't see what you're doing
And
at
there it
this
is.
point.
So
He's
the
not hearing us either.
Dave, can you hear us?
student can basically do just about anything they need to
Maybe he
do
muted himself. No,
in a Canvas course using their phone
microphone is on.
and the Canvas student app. And many of them are going to be doing that on the phone. So it's something to keep in the back of your mind.
Okay, I didn't write that.
Now
down.
I've got, that's a breaking point in the presentation here. Before I show you the Canvas teacher app, which is of course designed for you, which gives you different capabilities, let me go ahead and answer a couple of these questions that you've been building up in the chat tool here. Thank you for that. And there's one that I really want to address right away. Can students join Zoom if I send them a link through a message in Facebook? Oh yeah, absolutely, they can. But putting Zoom access, Zoom meeting access information in public forums like Facebook or Twitter is the primary proximal cause of all the security issues that Zoom has been accused of. Those meeting links, if they're made public on an excessively public forum like that, and of course lots of people can see your wall in Facebook, have led to phenomena like Zoom bombing, with people coming into your Zoom meetings uninvited and being disruptive. So while you can certainly send them a link through messaging and Facebook, be very careful that you do it in such a way that it's not visible publicly or to a group of people that you would not want accessing your meetings. This, as I say, is a big part of the problem that people have had with intrusions in their Zoom meetings. So watch out for that. I kicked my phone out from my Zoom meeting by mistake and could not get it back in. I'm not sure what might have happened there. Oh, right. If you remove someone from a meeting, a Zoom meeting, they can't get back into that meeting. That's a security feature in Zoom. I see you nodding your head. You figured that one out. Yeah, I did that one day myself in the middle of a meeting like this. I do, whoops, well, that's done for the day. Because Zoom detects the IP address, apparently, that the phone is using and just locks it out. Cool. We've got a question regarding students accessing a class on Zoom. What might that be, Sharon?
The problem is she has a
Oh,
phone.
I think I
I'm
have, yes, I have my speaker muted.
Oh,
Go ahead. There we go. Sorry about that.
So I'm guessing it's probably an Android phone, but I don't know. Anyway, she says that you can hear it, but she doesn't have I don't know. I'm confuddled as to why she can't get in. I teach at the Jewish Community Center, or that's where I was teaching, and there's
yeah.
a woman there who has helped several of the students who are having tech difficulties get on, but I'm still stumped as to this one particular woman. And I have now twice, and I don't know if it's her by accident, but I am now totally going to double check and make sure the waiting room is on. I had an incident where something started moving in the screen sharing, and thankfully nothing bad happened. I caught it
Right.
before anyone could write anything and ejected the person from the meeting. But I don't know if it's her coming in and accidentally doing something, or if anyway.
Right.
I will now totally use the waiting room, and I'm going to re-explain to everyone that if I can't identify whoever's come on, then they can't be in the meeting, because that's just the way the game is played now. But any advice that
That
you
is
have?
an option you have, indeed.
But as to why she can't connect, I guess that's not.
In a situation like that, I would probably try to reach out and see if you can just connect briefly with her one-on-one, where she's the only one in the meeting, so you don't have to worry about.
Thank you. That's a good idea. I'll see
And
if I
then
can just
you may be able to at least ascertain the nature of the problem. But Android phones should work just fine. I've accessed Zoom meetings even on Kindles, Amazon Kindles, which are very limited Android tablets, and they work fine with Zoom.
Yeah.
So it's an exceptionally.
I'm not Android compatible.
Yeah, I don't use it that much myself, though. As I mentioned earlier, I'm thinking about switching from the iPhone simply because they've eliminated the headphone jacks, and and I like to do a lot of playing with video and audio production on phones and so on, and the lack of a headphone jack to provide an audio output for my TV studio is very irritating to me. And I know I can use the dongle with the iPhone and get and plug a headphone jack connector in, but then I can't charge the phone at the same time. And very often these applications drain the battery. So anyway, never mind. That's neither here nor there.
Anyway, but that's
I do.
I'll see if I can just schedule a one-on-one meeting with her.
That would be the.
I don't know why I didn't think
probably
of
be the
that.
most successful approach.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay, and another thing I noticed in the chat tool, and thank you for telling me, was that you couldn't see what I was doing on my phone there a minute ago when I was actually doing discussions. So let me do that again. I had to go into another course here because for some reason, I couldn't find that discussion that I have in that demonstration course that I was working with. It's like it's an older version of the course or something, and I'm showing on the phone. I don't know what the issue was there, but here's another course where there are discussions in the course that can be accessed from the course menu, and students can access the discussions in your courses by just tapping on them, and they can create replies just like they would on a computer by typing. And then hitting done. And that reply appears in the within the discussion, and they can view other people's posts and reply to those and so on. There's a reply button with each post, so they can, just as there would. So again, there's really not much the students can't do on the phone, and in some cases it's actually more convenient to do it on the phone than it is on the computer, like typing out a Word document like that. While you can set Word on your computer up to accept dictation through the Windows speech recognition apps and so on, it's a bit more, it takes a bit of setup, a little bit of knowledge of how to get that working. And I don't think the voice recognition on the computer is as good as the voice recognition on the phone. And it's so easy to use. My goodness, I'd be tempted to type all my papers that way.
Yeah.
But yes.
Oh, sorry for interrupting.
No, please don't hesitate to jump in. This is
Okay.
much better when it's a dialogue than a lecture. So please don't apologize. Just do so.
This is Marlene, and then I was just wondering how many students are using their phone or have to use their phone?
I would say
in
in cases where a course has been moved online suddenly in that 2-week period we had,
Right.
you might be surprised, maybe half of them.
Okay.
I've talked to a couple of faculty members who met with their students, had a chance to meet with their students just before this happened. And they tried to prepare them for the move to online. I
Yeah.
had one instructor tell me that 60% of the students in her class told her that the only way they had to access their courses on Canvas or on Zoom was through their phones.
Oh, okay.
It's a
Dave, Dave's trying
widespread
to
issue.
upload. Mhm.
Yes.
Hi, Dave. The students are
Hi.
trying to upload the essays using their cell phones, and it does show. It shows in Canvas, but I can open it. It's not working. Like 3 of them yesterday. I just don't know how to do it.
You say you just have a few students whose essays you can't
Mhm.
open?
Yes. They use
It's
their cell
possible they
phone.
may be. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so it shows that they uploaded from the cell phone.
Right.
Okay, so I can see the link. So I clicked on it and nothing works.
And you can't open it.
From the cell phone, because I thought because they did it from the cell phone.
Can you open it from your computer?
No, that's what.
No, you can't open it at all.
My computer.
It's
Yeah, I
possible
always
they're
use
just
computer.
not. I'm sorry.
So I use my
Yeah.
computer, but I couldn't open it.
Right. Understood. It's possible they're just not uploading the correct file type.
Mm-hmm.
It may be a file type that you can't open. Can you download the file onto your local computer and send it to me, and I'll take a look at it. If you can send me one of those, I'll take a look at it and we'll see if we can figure out what's going on. But it may just be a file type that your computer doesn't have an application to open.
Yeah, I think that's
on
the
the-
only. Yes.
Yeah, because in the tests I've done, it seems to the files that are uploaded seem to work fine. And in fact, I can open them on my phone as well as on the computer. So let's go ahead and take a look at the teacher app now, and get out of the student app. I think we've seen that there's not much the students can't do.
Yeah, I apologize.
Yes.
You're still saying that my computer doesn't have the app for that, yes? So what, I have to download it, or what's your advice?
Well, I'll have to take a look at the file to see, and if I can figure out what's happening, I'll see if I can't let you know. If you need another application or something like that, I'll let you know. Or you may just need to insist to the students that they upload the correct file type. And you can
Mhm.
ensure that, more or less, in an assignment. Let me get rid of the phone here for a second and go to an assignment.
Mhm.
Let me just pick one here at random. Homework assignments. That's the one. That's a good one. And edit this assignment. When you create an assignment, you have an option. If you select online submission, file upload, you have an option to restrict upload file types.
Mhm.
And you just type the file extensions that you will accept. And if you type DOC, comma, DOCX, those are the file extension types for Word documents, both old documents and new documents. If you do that, the student can't upload anything except a Word document, and you should be able to open them.
Great. Yeah.
And even if the student doesn't have Microsoft Word, they can, almost any word processor these days is capable of saving or exporting a document as a Word document, because Word is so dominant that they should be able to produce a Word document that you can use, particularly with a little help, which we can help them as well. So that may help solve that problem. And somebody else had a question. Thought I heard someone else jump in there.
Okay.
Didn't mean to cut you off. Okay, well, let's go take a look at the student or at the teacher app, because you have your own app. I do have to refocus here. And you can do a lot of what you do to manage your course on your phone. I wouldn't expect that you would do everything or operate exclusively off your phone. Hopefully you do have a computer at home. But in a pinch, if you're out and about, someday in the future when we can all get out and about, I'll trust that none of you were among those people who made the news over the weekend out on the beaches in Southern California. But sooner or later, we're going to be able to be out and moving around again with more freedom. And the teacher app can be a great help to you. It is on this phone, is just to the right of the student app there. The Canvas logo is in gold. That's kind of a visual cue. I tap on that, I can drop into the teacher app. The login process for this app is just like it was for the student app. I think I'm already logged in here as me. Yep, there I am. When I come in, I see any system announcements up at the top of the screen. I can view those. This is a change that was made yesterday in the way student drops are handled. Note that your drop students will no longer disappear from your grade book, which is a bit of an issue. But at least you'll be able to send messages in your course without having your drop students get them. But it is going to make gradebook management a little bit more complicated.
So Dave, I get the teacher app by going to just the App Store and going, typing in Canvas?
Good question. Indeed. You just go to your App Store, either Google Play or the iOS App Store, and search for Canvas. And there's Canvas Teacher app, but you just search for Canvas, you get them both. Well, okay. Canvas shows up first because they paid for that. But there's the Canvas Student app.
And is that free to the students?
It is free to the students and free to you.
Okay.
Yeah, remember when we used to have to pay for the Blackboard app? That
Oh,
really,
yeah,
it wasn't very good, and they wouldn't give it to us for free. Just one of the that's one of the many reasons we're no longer using Blackboard.
Huh.
But you can pull that Canvas Teacher app up from the App Store, and there we are back in it. You like the student app, you see a dashboard that's not fundamentally different from the one that the students see. You can enter a course. Let's go back to that one we were playing with. You, of course, see all the menu items that are active. That you haven't totally disabled in the course. You, like the students, can view and create announcements. You can create announcements from the phone. You can, of course, view them. But you can create new announcements as well. So you can do some content creation, at least on the phone. You can title and type the announcement itself. And when you're done, you can then save it. Yeah, I know. I'll just cancel out. So you can create announcements on the phone. I'll come back to the modules in a minute. You can view your roster. You can even access information about those students.
So Dave, would you recommend
Yes.
that students, if they have a computer, both to go to Canvas on the computer, and would you recommend they also download the app to their phone?
Certainly, because they may find themselves in a situation where they're away from their computer and they forgot to submit an assignment or something like that, or they need to check on a discussion forum. So it's wonderful to have both.
Right. Okay.
And the app is so functional that there's no reason not to use it.
Right.
So yeah, I would think it would be of value to them, and certainly of no cost.
So I have just a question. It's kind of related, but it's on Screencast,
Okay.
which I just enrolled in the certification process, so I haven't really done anything. But on my Zoom, I am doing Zoom for my level 3-4 ESL class, and some students are actually are quite low in their understanding of how to put in chat or mute. And so, but I don't want to take the Zoom meeting time to do that because everybody else knows what they're doing. So I could do
Understood.
a separate Zoom meeting and screencast it so I can show them.
Absolutely.
Is that hard to do?
Not at all. All you do is start a Zoom meeting with nobody else in it.
Oh, okay.
And record it.
Oh,
And share your screen. And do what you would do live if you had the time.
Right.
But record it and either put it on the Zoom cloud or on YouTube and give your students the link to it and say, if you are not familiar with Zoom or if you're uncomfortable with it, watch this. And this will show you what you need to know in order to attend my meetings successfully.
Okay. And in that screencast, I show them where the mute button is or where the chat is and all that. Okay.
Okay. Now there's an issue. There's an issue because Zoom, when you share your screen and Zoom records it, it doesn't record those Zoom menus.
Oh, okay.
And that's part of the challenge of teaching Zoom on Zoom. I run into that every time I teach an introduction to Zoom session over Zoom. So that kind of screencasting you really have to do with another tool. And
You mean not Zoom?
Not Zoom,
Okay.
because Zoom doesn't record that information. It doesn't record when you tap on your mute button or when you bring your Zoom menu up. That doesn't show when you share.
What about
when
not? What about not
Go ahead.
recording it, actually doing it live with like the 5 students?
That you could do. You could just schedule a special Zoom session for those 5 students and deal with all those issues. But
Okay.
you know, other new students add, students forget. It's
Right.
nice to have it recorded.
Yeah.
So you can use, there are free tools you can use to do that. Probably the best bet would be Screencast-O-Matic. It's a web-based tool. You don't even have to install anything on your computer. You just start recording. And you can, if you have a YouTube account, Screencast-O-Matic will upload the video to it almost automatically.
Okay.
So I don't want to go through that process right now because
No, that's okay. I can maybe
But-
figure it out.
well, I'm sure you can. But if you want some help with that, you can go to sdccdolvid.org, our on-demand video tutorial site at the district,
Okay.
and just type in the search box, Screencast-O-Matic, and press enter. And here's basic screencasting. And
Okay, great.
Screencast-O-Matic. It's a real, though I'd just try it myself. I don't think you'll need this because it's such a simple process. But that will allow you to get a tutorial that shows exactly how to do what you want your students to be able to do in Zoom up on YouTube. And then you can just send them a link and they can watch it anytime. Actually doing it both ways, doing a live meeting with them and then having the Screencast-O-Matic recording available as well is the ideal circumstance, because they'll get it better the first time if you're there with them live, quite frankly, but they'll have questions later on. So that'll cover both scenarios.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Good question. Now let's go back and take a look at keep taking a look at the teacher app here. So we can look at our people. We can operate the Confer Zoom app within it here, but obviously I'm in the middle of a meeting. I don't want to do that. You can access meetings on Zoom. If you put a link to your personal meeting room in your Canvas menu, you can access it from there just as the students can. Discussions. You can not only view discussions and participate in them. There you've got a reply button. And type messages. But you can even create new discussions. There's a plus button up here in the upper right. You tap on that. You can actually create a new discussion and you can set the options for it and so on, very much as you can on your computer. Don't want to go through the process of creating discussions right now, but it's possible to create discussions on the phone if you decide you need a new one all of a sudden. You can view assignments on the phone that you have already created. And this is where you can grade homework assignments. We had our test student a minute ago. submit a new submissions for that defined screencasting assignment right there, well, Zoom tells you it needs grading. That's something it doesn't do on the computer interface. It's kind of cool. And you can actually grade from the phone. If you're out and about, you've got some grading hanging over your head, sitting in a doctor's office or something like that, waiting forever to see someone, you can sit there and grade. To grade that, we just tap on that link and scroll down, and we can see submissions here. And I see that one needs grading. I can just tap where it says needs grading, and there it is. Here's the student's submission. You just tap on that. Tap and hold a rubric number to see its description. Okay, that's fine. So there's the student submission. That's the one that I did by VoiceOver. I don't think this will flip. No, darn it. One disadvantage to the app is it won't go horizontal. It won't go landscape mode. So you have to view it. And I know it's hard to see that fine print under these circumstances. You can expand it and read it, but then it's a little bit less convenient. But it's not difficult to read generally when you're looking directly at the screen. So there's that student's submission. You can even do annotation here, markup. And type comments. Oh, and there it goes sideways when you know it. And put that comment in. And done. And now it's going to flip back. So I can put in markup comments. I can, that's not quite as effective or as easy to do on the phone as it is on the computer, but it can be done. But I can easily, I can use a rubric, or I can just type in the grade. I can add comments. Add the comment down here just by typing it. I can't do the comment by voice recognition. That would be nice. Can load that. I can even upload a file for the student. Or actually, I can download the file. Excuse me, that's not true. I can download the file that the student has submitted at need, and then I'm done. So I can actually grade fairly effectively on the phone just by going to the assignments link in the course menu.
Dave, I have another question about editing their work, because when I
Yes.
try and edit, I like to put it in a different color so they can see it. But every correction I make, I have to go to the color, the color chart, pick like green, make my correction, and then when I go to the next word to correct, it goes back to black. Am I doing?
Right. No, you're doing this in Word or in the
yes.
Canvas, or in the Canvas.
I'm not in Canvas yet, but I'm doing it in whatever. Well, when they email me.
Right.
No, actually, it was in a Google Sheet.
Oh, Google Doc.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I don't know of a way around that, unfortunately. That is a little bit inconvenient. I know what you're talking about. The
Yeah,
text color reverts back to a default of black every time.
exactly. I guess unless I change the default color.
That might work, but then it'd revert back to the wrong color every time. So.
But then you'd have to change it after you did that.
Right, you'd still have to change it, yeah, every time.
Yeah,
So
okay.
I don't know.
All
I
right.
can't think of a way around that right offhand. I see
Right.
that's a great thing to do,
Yeah.
to provide that kind of keyed feedback. Another thing you can do with something like that is that may even be easier and quicker for you is to use a screencasting tool like Screencast-O-Matic that we talked about a minute ago.
Uh-huh.
Bring the student's paper up on your screen
Uh-huh.
and mark it up in real time and as you're talking about it.
Oh, that'd be great.
And it would be like for each student, or rather each student would get the experience that they would get if they came into your office and you sat
Right.
together looking at their paper and you blue penciled it while they were there.
Right.
They couldn't ask questions in real time, but they could get that's a real rich feedback.
Yes.
And it's actually probably quicker than typing your comment. Well, for me, it's quicker than typing the comments because I can't type for worth of crap.
Well,
But
yeah.
but it's still it's quicker, and you tend to provide a richer experience if you're talking about it, and that can be done for free, totally
Yeah.
for free. If you're interested in more detail on that, send me an email, and I'll send you a little tutorial on how to do that. But that's one of the most useful things you can do with screencasting.
Okay. And your email is?
Oh, let me put that in the chat tool for you. Absolutely. That is dgiberso, DGIBERSO. I couldn't afford the N when they hired me years ago.
At SDCCD?
At sdccd.edu. I've still got access to my district account. They knew I was coming back to consult at some point, so they left it in the system. And yeah, there's that. And remember, you can save the chat log by going to, if you're on a computer, by going to the little menu button in the lower right-hand corner of the chat window. If you mouse over it, it says More. And then just click on that and click Save Chat.
Okay.
And that will save it to a folder called Zoom in your default document directory.
And I have a Mac, so that would be, I go to Finder?
Yeah, you go to the Finder.
Okay, all right, great.
Ardith, you had a good question there. What would students submit artwork the same way as they submit their Word documents? Yes.
Oh, okay.
And you'll be depending on the file type that they submit, it may display neatly in your SpeedGrader, or you may have to download the file and open it on your local computer, but you can do either one.
Okay.
And it worked like a charm. And those submissions don't count against the file space quota that you have in your Canvas course. So students can submit files of just about any size and as many of them as they like, and you're not going to run out of room.
Oh, okay. Good.
That's good to know. Yeah, and that's a very valuable thing for them to be able to do. Obviously, in an art class like that, they'd have to be able to do that to effectively operate. So, yeah, Canvas has that capability. And someone else is paying for all the storage, so they don't care. Well, not coming out of our budget. We're happy. All righty. Great questions. Great questions. Thank you. Have you taught us how to download the Canvas app onto our phones? I think I did that, right?
I don't know. I don't think I was watching. I'm sorry.
Okay. I'll show you
Yeah,
that
I
again.
can't. That's fine.
Remind me, don't let me forget, okay? Y'all know by now that this hair didn't come out of a bottle. I earned it. So my memory never was much, and it's not improving. So
I was busy doing the Word. I didn't have Word on my phone either. So,
well, that you can have for free. Okay, so you can grade on the phone. One thing you can't do, though, you may notice that there's something missing here that we had when we were looking at the discussions. There's no little add button up here. You can't create assignments on the phone.
okay.
You probably wouldn't want to anyway, because that's something that's so much easier to do on a computer. But that is one thing you can't do as using the teacher app. Assignments, quizzes, same thing. You can view your quizzes, but you can't edit them or actually you can edit them. I was lying. You can edit the quizzes. But I believe all you can do is change your quiz options and edit the description. You can't add questions. But still, that's useful. If you need to change a due date or something like that, you can do that from your phone. You can view your pages, your content pages that you've created. You can view those, and you can edit them. You don't get the full rich content editor that you would have on the computer, but lost my zoom here on my Pivo visualizer. I'm not sure what I did with that. Oh well. Whoop. What I did was just kill my visualizer software apparently crashed. Let me get that back. There we go. Be nice if the technology were perfect, or if I were perfect. There, we get a little zoom there. You do get a subset of your capability on Canvas itself, but if you find a problem in a page that where there's something incorrect on the page or a misspelled word or something like that, you can go in and correct it and edit it in the teacher app and save the changes. Go back to the menu again, and you can view your file manager. And you can even upload files to the course. Add file. Choose from library. Enable photos, permissions, and settings. I didn't want to go to photos. I don't want to go through that right now. But you can upload files from your phone that you've created on your phone. So if you decided you were out and about and there was you needed to add a file to the system, you could do that. I deliberately skipped over the modules tool here. Let's go into that. And you can view your modules and view the content in your modules. Dropped, oh, there's the getting started module, your topic 1 module, and so on. But you can't create modules or put links into modules from the teacher app. That's probably the most limited part of the teacher app, is dealing with modules. You really have to create those and populate them with links on the computer rather than here, but you can view them at need. Notice there's no plus button up there. So that's kind of an overview of what you can and can't do with the teacher app. You can do a lot, but actually, if anything, the student app, in terms of relative of what a user would need to do on Canvas, the student app is really a good deal more powerful than the teacher app. And I'll end up here today by mentioning that in vis-a-vis the concept of using Canvas over on a mobile device, the apps are not the only option you have for utilizing Canvas on your mobile device. Your mobile device also has a web browser on it. It'll be Chrome on an Android phone, or Safari, probably, on an iOS device, though you can use Chrome on the iPhone as well. And you can, let me make sure I'm zoomed all the way out here so you can see what I'm doing. Rather than using the apps to access Canvas, you can use your web browser. If you web to sdccd.instructure.com, that's just the last web page I visited on my phone. So it knew that, but I could have just typed that in up here, or gone or navigated to the district website and found it from there or whatever. But if, one way or another, you can get to our Canvas site at sdccd.instructure.com, and you can log in. You have to tap the keyboard icon there to get the keyboard. My login is, I was like the second person put into the system, so my login's different. And I'm going to take this away to enter my password. Since I have administrative access to the system. And that will take me to my Canvas dashboard. It doesn't display quite as neatly on the web browser as it did in the app, but it's not bad. I just have a single column display of the dashboard. My dashboard's way too big, so let me just get back up here and pick one. Let's go into that same course we've been playing with. There it is. Tap on it. And since Canvas is quite adaptive in this regard, I should be able to flip it on its side. And yes, I can put the phone in landscape mode, which usually makes it a bit easier to use. So I've just entered that course here. I see my course entry point on this course is the modules tool. So I see my modules. And here I do have an add module button. I mean, I could add modules to this. Just all I have to do is give it a name. Module. And here I get help from the iOS keyboard. Module from phone. add module. So getting started should be down at the bottom. Yep, there it is. There's an empty module from the phone. I can add stuff to that module. There's a limit. It's a bit funky, but it does work. Go back. So I can do most anything I can do on the computer, on the phone, using the web browser. It really gives you access to the same tools that you have on the computer. It is still a little funky, but so in a pinch, you could add a module and you could add content to the module. You could theoretically create your entire course from your phone. That's an academic possibility. I can't imagine you'd ever do that because it would be much more tedious, but it is possible. You can do edits and add things at the last minute and so on. You can do things here that you can't do in the teacher app, but it's still generally much easier to do this on the computer.
So Dave, what is the advantage of getting the app versus just going through the web on your phone?
Usually the app displays information more legibly. It's easier to see things.
Okay.
And within its limitations, it's easier to do things. Like if you were going to post on a discussion forum, it's easier to do from the app than it is from the web browser, because the app is specifically designed to work with a small screen, where the web browser is not. Canvas is wonderfully adaptive. By that, I mean that it will adjust what it displays to you based upon it knowing what kind of device you're using. When you enter Canvas using your phone, Canvas is able to tell that you're on a phone, and it will adjust the way it sends the screens to you. But it can't do quite as good a job on the fly as the app can do, because the app is pre-designed to do that. Though I would suppose that the best advice I could give you there would be to just try it both ways and see which one you like better. That should have been my answer to start with. But generally, the app is a little bit easier.
For the students also?
For the students also, to do things on the mobile device. But they can try it either way and see what works for them.
Okay, thank you.
So those are the two approaches to accessing Canvas over on a mobile device. They both work. The apps are extremely powerful and free, and that's a very good thing, because a significant proportion of your students are likely to be accessing the information that you put up on Canvas and the activities that you put up on Canvas that way. So it's always a good idea to keep that in mind. I used to say, though, that you'd have to be especially cognizant of this situation, that your student might be using a phone to access your course, when you assign writing assignments. But with the Word, voice recognition and so on, while the student may have to do a bit of editing, it's not unrealistic that they could create documents of some length, particularly if they've written them out on paper beforehand and just dictated them into the Word app. They can realistically satisfy most any writing assignment, short of maybe a full-blown term paper or something like that. So The technology improves all the time, and what we can do with it, the mobile technology improves all the time, and what we can do with it increases constantly.
Dave,
Yes.
it's Sharon. Could you show me on your phone how you connect to Zoom?
Absolutely.
That could be helpful because a lot of my
Absolutely. And there was something else I was going to show. I was also going to go back and show how to get the app.
Yeah.
So let's
I've already
just do the
got the app, but I wanted to see how.
right. But I had another question about how to get the Canvas apps.
Yeah.
And the Zoom app. So let me just handle this all at the same time.
Great.
I'll
Thank
combine it
you.
into an overall answer here. And we're still, I think I'm still recording all this. We'll find out. All right. You would go to get started, you would go to your app store. Be it the iOS App Store or Google Play, depending on the type of phone you have. And you would search for the app in question. Let's search first for Zoom. The Zoom app. Probably going to be the right one. There are actually more than one Zoom company named Zoom out there that have apps. Like Zoom for Intune. Here's Zoom app. That has nothing to do with Zoom. Google Duo has nothing to do with Zoom. Zoom Courier and Zoom Room Video, all this stuff. The app you want for Zoom is the one that has this icon. It'll say it'll be entitled either Zoom Cloud Meetings or Zoom Video Communication. It varies between the two app stores, but they'll both have this specific icon. A square with rounded corners and a little white stylized camera. So you want to make sure that you get the right one. And then you can
so
just,
it was Zoom, excuse me, it was Zoom Cloud Meeting. And what was the other name?
Zoom Video Communications. It'll be one of those two.
Okay.
On the iPhone, it's Zoom Cloud Meetings.
Okay.
I think it's the other on the Android App Store.
Okay.
And then you just go through the usual process. There'll be a button that says "Get the app" or something to that effect,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
and you tap on that. You validate. You probably have to log into your account at either the on the iPhone or on the Google Play on the Android phone, and then the app will download and become available. Same thing with Canvas.
So that's probably what's been happening with this woman that's been trying to get on, is that she's hit the share screen button, and I wasn't able to. So I should have my screen sharing disabled. So I need to double check. I mean, for anyone but me. So I need to go back and double check.
Right. And then the Zoom meeting by default, if someone else is sharing their screen, you can cancel that screen share by sharing your screen. And that
but it actually, I had been sharing my screen, and I believe I had the video pinned, and somehow but maybe I don't know.
There's a setting that will allow you to ensure that you're the only one who can override someone else's screen share.
Mm-hmm.
And it's important you have that set that way. Otherwise, you can be Zoom bombed very easily.
Yeah. So, I think in retrospect, I probably wasn't being Zoom bombed, that it was probably her, or that was what I was thinking. But so I need to go back and see what I haven't set properly. Okay.
Yeah, never ascribe to malice what can be explained by mischance. Okay, so again, we can search for the Canvas app. You may quote that. I'm sure I stole that from someone.
There's that going on now. Yeah.
Right.
Thank you. It was worth the whole class just to get that, but I've gotten a lot more out of it. So.
Oh, wonderful. You can also search for the Canvas apps, both student and teacher, and install those as well. So how do you get into Zoom on a phone? Well, one way is that if you're sent a Zoom link in an email, or if there's a Zoom link in Canvas, you can access the Zoom in the same way you would on a computer. You just click on the link. You do have to have the Zoom app installed first. On a computer, of course, you don't have to install anything in advance to join a Zoom meeting. You just click on the meeting link, and if you need the Zoom client, Zoom will automatically download it and install it on your computer if you don't already have it. Or if it needs updating, it'll update it automatically. And then you go. But on a mobile device, you do have to have the Zoom app installed before you start the process of accessing the Zoom meeting. But you don't necessarily have to go through the Zoom app manually. If you have a link to a meeting, I should have one here somewhere. Let me see here. Mary Kingsley sends these out. Let's see if I can find her latest. Here we go. Whoops, I didn't have the link in it, sorry. Bingo. You can just tap on the link. Zoom app loads. You may have to OK opening the Zoom app. And bada bing, I'm in the meeting. That's all there is to it. I tell it whether I want my video on or not, and tell it how I want to handle the audio, which is almost certainly internet audio.
This meeting is being recorded.
And I have to, I just had to mute my microphone and my speakers on the phone real quick. Otherwise, I get a feedback loop set up between my computer and the phone, and it gets really unpleasant very quickly. Be careful if you're trying to use two devices to access a Zoom meeting simultaneously in the same room. One of them has to be completely muted. Otherwise, you get a feedback loop set up, and it's not pleasant. But anyway, that's one way to join a Zoom meeting from your phone. Let me drop out of this meeting. Leave. I'm just leaving. My phone is leaving. I'm still here. You can also just find the Zoom app in your screens, tap on the Zoom icon, and tap Join a Meeting. There you have to have the meeting ID, which may have been supplied to you rather than a link. And my meeting ID, never changes because I always use my personal meeting room, which has an unchanging meeting ID. That's one thing you really don't want to put on Facebook or Twitter or any public forum. If you're making that available to your clientele, be sure you do it in a non-public manner. And that's my favorite thing to do, because if you operate that way, the chances of you and your students ending up in different meetings is almost eliminated. And that to me is the one way that Zoom fails sometimes. It's exceptionally reliable. But if you schedule meetings in advance in a situation where the meeting IDs are random, and a student tries to get into your meeting using an old link, it won't work. Whereas if you always use your personal meeting room and you've provided that to your students in a number of times over the term, the chances are much higher that the students are going to be able to get into your meetings. You're less likely to have that situation where the student or students end up in one Zoom meeting room and you end up in another.
So Dave,
Because yes. Mm-hmm.
I copy the invitation to my Zoom meeting and email it to my students on
Absolutely.
the Gmail account I have just for my class. Is that considered private enough?
Oh yeah, that's quite good because only the recipients get to see that.
Right.
As opposed to posting it on Twitter where everybody in the world can see it.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
where that's where most of those Zoom bombings were happening. People were naively taking their personal meeting room IDs and posting them on Twitter.
Okay, not a good
And it's not just the people who follow you on Twitter who can see that. Anybody who searches Twitter for Zoom can see those links.
Yeah.
And of course, they were generating an awful lot of unwanted attention from miscreants all over the world. So that's not a good idea. But as long as you make your personal, if you're using your personal meeting room exclusively in Zoom, which I do, because that eliminates the possibility of people showing up in the same room or in the different rooms, you don't want to publish it on a public forum. You want to make sure that it just gets to the people who need to see it. And but you may also be provided with a meeting ID, a numeric code. Mine's let's see, 391499. Whoop. 391499 5946. I had to think about that one. And join. And that works the same way. So that's two ways you can join the Zoom meeting from your phone or your tablet. Works the same way on an iPad or an Android tablet or a Kindle for that matter. If a student wants, or you want a device that can operate well with Zoom, that's not quite as expensive as a smartphone or an iPad, a Kindle Fire is actually a pretty good choice. You see those sometimes for as little as $50, the smaller ones, the 7-inch ones. When Amazon gets to feeling good one day, you can get those Kindle Fires for very little. And they also make wonderful ebook readers. I use mine for that. Or you can watch your Netflix movies or whatever on them. So that's a great choice for a mobile device that's not going to break the bank and doesn't require a subscription of any kind to use.
Dave, I have a question.
Absolutely. Oscar.
How you doing?
Wonderful. Good to see you.
Yeah, thank you. I often, not often, but the last time I had a Zoom session, I lost the menu at the bottom of the screen that has all these invites and participants and share screen, etc.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And I'm doing something wrong because it's just after I shared a screen with my students, but then the menu was gone and I was dumbfounded. I couldn't do anything after that.
Yeah, I hear you. And it's something you might not have done automatically, but you can bring those menus back by moving your mouse over the rest of the Zoom screen, and the menu should pop back up.
Yeah,
but there's a setting that you can change in Zoom that will ensure that menu does not disappear on you.
Uh-huh.
And let me show you. Let me see if I can find that for you.
Okay.
Go to zoom.us, or web to zoom.us, and log in as you. There'll be a sign-in button if you're not already signed in.
Right.
And just use the credentials for your Confer Zoom account. The Confer Zoom accounts are just regular Zoom accounts that are paid for by the state chancellor's office. So you can access them from this main Zoom website as easily as any others. Log in and you'll see your Zoom account management screens, and go to settings. on the left here. Allows you to set the behaviors for your Zoom account. And it's an in-meeting setting. I can never remember where all these things are. I just have to scroll down through them. Let's see. Forgive me for you may want to close your eyes if you're subject to seasickness or something. This is an issue for people sometimes. There it is. Always show meeting control toolbar. Blue is on.
Right.
Turn it on, and then your menus won't go away.
Okay. Oh, that's so helpful.
And then,
Great.
And then, Dave, you have your screen sharing on.
Yes.
Okay, but we would have it off, correct?
Yes, right.
Okay.
You wouldn't be able to, well, you can actually, when you're sharing your screen, you do have a subset of your Zoom menu visible to you. You can't see it because Zoom doesn't send that down screen. But I have a little menu that either sits at the top or the bottom of my screen, and I can grab it and move it around too, that has my mute, unmute button, my video button, my menus, my security button that allows me to turn people's screen sharing off at need and things like that. Participants tool, my annotations so I can draw on the screen at need. And just about everything else that's in that main menu is available to me when I'm sharing my screen through this share menu. And it allows me to do things like disable participant annotation if somebody starts drawing nasty pictures on my screen while I'm sharing, or my favorite, show names of annotators. Oops. That's almost worth turning it on and leaving it on. It does work. It puts up their little screen name. You can tell who's doing it, and so on. So yeah, you do have access to those screens, to those menus when you're screen sharing. I just can't show you what that looks like from here.
So
that is included in some of my Zoom tutorials, though. Yes.
While you're in this Zoom thingy-do, I have, if I want to make a Zoom meeting for just me and my friends, not my students,
right.
But I don't want it to have the same meeting ID. How do I do that? Do I go to schedule a meeting, but...
Schedule a meeting would work. Or you can just go to the Zoom website, like that I'm on here. Let me get rid of my annotations here. You can go to the Zoom website and just click host a meeting. And that will generate a meeting, what's called an instant meeting with a random ID. Then you'll have to, once the meeting starts, you'll have to send an email with the invite to your friends so that they have the correct meeting ID.
Okay, will that be with the SDCCD? Because there's another person who hosts it, but every 40 minutes they kick you out and you have to go back in. So
right, no, that would not happen with your Confer Zoom account.
Okay.
And there is, however, there's a caveat here. I need to mention to you. There are a couple of options in Zoom that have to be set just so in order for this to work the way I described. Those are right up near the top of the settings. I have mine set up so that no matter how I create a meeting, it uses my personal meeting ID.
Oh, okay.
That would override. So if I go and click host a meeting and with video on and start a new meeting, it's going to be in my personal meeting room. So before you do this thing that we just described with your friends, make sure those are not turned on.
Okay, I want the same meeting ID with my friends as with my students?
No. Well, my understanding is that you did not want that.
I did not want that.
Okay, if
Right.
you don't want that, be sure that these two options are not set.
Oh, okay, okay. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, they're probably not, but check them just to be sure.
So they have to be off.
Yeah, they'd have to be off.
Oh, okay, all right, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And you can turn them on and off at will. I mean, it's not a big deal.
Thank
But
you.
that would ensure that your students wouldn't have the link to your meeting with your friends.
Right, right.
And I see no ethical dilemma in using your Zoom account, your Confer Zoom account
Right.
to talk with friends, because every time you use Zoom, you get better at it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a benefit to your students for you to talk to your friends. And the state chancellor's office is paying no more for your Zoom account if you use it with your friends than if you don't. They don't pay for usage, they pay for access to the account. So you're not misusing state funds, and you're not violating ethics in any way.
Okay.
So I don't see a problem with it personally. I'm not the boss of that, but I wouldn't hesitate to do so. Indeed, I have used mine, though I do usually for the reason so that I can be fairly sure that the two don't cross pollinate. I do have a free Zoom account that I use for my when I talk to a friend in another state every week. If it's a one-on-one Zoom meeting, there is no time limit. They don't enforce a time limit on a one-to-one meeting. It's only if you have 3 or more people in the meeting that they enforce the time limit. And at worst, when you enforce the time, when the meeting runs out, of course, you just have to start it over again, and everybody has to come back in.
Right.
So it's not the end of the world, but it's convenient. If you're talking to more than one friend at a time, I would just use the Confer Zoom account, and I just do that instant meeting, host a meeting, and then send them the link to it or the meeting ID from the invite.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you.
My pleasure. Great question. How about some more? Let me see if I've missed anything in the chat tool here.
Thank you, Dave. You're a great guy.
Well,
I just
still kicking. That's all I can say.
I just sent you an email with my previous question. Please disregard that because you've answered it now.
Okay. Assuming I remember that. If you get another answer in email, you know that I forgot, but at least you'll have the answer twice. Better twice than not at all.
Right. Thank you.
Anything else? I'll answer questions as long as you have them.
All right, Canvas app again.
Canvas app.
Yeah.
Go to the App Store.
I have to go to the App Store. I didn't find it at the App Store.
Are you do you have an iPhone or an Android? I'm sorry?
An Android.
Android. Okay, I can't really show you that because I don't have an Android phone or an Android or a true Android tablet here.
Would it be at the Play Store?
Yeah, it's Google Play, right.
Okay.
Yeah, that is your app store, indeed. And again, I wish I could show you how that looked. I need to get an Android device. They're not that expensive. There you, just like that. That's it. Very good. And it's got a search function on it.
Yeah.
Where you can search for apps by name.
Oh, okay. That'll work.
Gee, I wish you had a document camera so you could share that with us because I need to know more about this.
I need to get one because I really needed it when I locked my phone out of the meeting.
You're right. Yeah, you can use your phone that way too.
Yeah.
All right. And just search for Canvas, and the Canvas student and teacher app should be way up high in the hit list on that when you search for it. I swear, the next time I see a cheap Android tablet, I'm going to buy one so I can demonstrate this stuff for people.
Oh. Well, this was a senior phone. Got it at Target. Can I
Cool.
put it in Canvas for teacher or just Canvas?
A Canvas for teachers or a Canvas for students would be the Canvas for teachers is going to be more useful for you. It's fun to play with a student app though. The only issue you'd have doing that is you would need an actual student account, a test student account logged in or enrolled into your class, not the test student that is enrolled or that's logged in when you tap student view, but a real, and I could provide that for you if you needed that.
It's doing it, so I did it, I guess.
You're doing it. All right.
I found a student one too, so I'll get it too after this one's done.
Great.
Yeah.
Let me know if you want an actual test student account enrolled in one of your courses to play with, and I'll do that for you.
It's doing it, so I don't know. I think since I'm in the Canvas, I'm a student, aren't I? The Canvas program?
No. Well, I could actually, that's true. I could actually enroll you as a student in one of my Sandbox courses, and you could play with that.
Oh.
Those are not, you couldn't hurt anything in there. If you did, I'd just reset the content or something. It's no big deal. So if you want to play with the student app, just email me, let me know, and I'll enroll you in one of my play courses, and you can play around as a student. Okay, let's see. Can we use the Confer Zoom account for personal use? I don't see any reason why not. It's not costing the state anything. It would be great for us to see things on Android devices. Yeah, darn it, I need to do that. I just need to man up and buy one of the damn things. Sorry. And what is a Sandbox course? A Sandbox course is just a course that is provided for you to try things in. There are never going to be any students in it. It's just a shell that you can experiment with and do things that might cause some difficulty if you did it in your live shell or in your development shell you use to store your content and keep it safe and so on. It's nice to have a shell that's just totally expendable, that you can play around with, and you mess it up, it doesn't hurt anything. I have a lot of those because I can make them anytime I need them. But if you want something like that, just email me and I'll make you one. And you can just tinker around with it to your heart's content, without any having to worry about what will happen if I try this. There's a fundamental rule about technology. You can't fix it if you're not willing to break it.
Oh.
So you have to be in order to really learn about technology and to fix something that's not working, you have to be willing to take the chance on breaking it and fixing it. And otherwise, you're never going to be successful. So you need something you can break without consequence to really learn about technology. Anything else?
I don't think so.
This kind of session we've had today is the best kind of Zoom training session. where we just get to talk back and forth and ask and answer questions and share things and so on. And it's possible when we have a relatively small number of attendees like we did today. So these are the most fun. I hope it's been useful for you. If you think of anything else, you're always welcome to email me, and I'll get back to you.
I actually have one more question, which is
good.
A shot up there. So if I went in, host a meeting, the instant meeting with my friends, do I go to this email notification? How do I get their emails and invite them? I mean, I have their emails. How do I invite them?
Okay. Oh, that's right. That's another thing I can't show you live. There is an invite button.
Yeah, I know that.
You know where that is. Okay.
Yeah.
There, in that, when you bring up that invite, there's a button at the bottom of the window that says copy invitation.
Yep, I do that with my students.
Right. So you can then copy that invitation to your clipboard and then bring up your email client, whatever you normally use to communicate with your friends, and just paste that invitation message into an email and send it to them.
That's what I do with my students, but somehow Monica Cueva helped me. I can't remember where she helped me. I have a meeting with her shortly, actually, but we put all my students in, and it says ESL level 3-4. So all I have to do is when I do blind copies for them, I just put in a capital E, and it populates with all my ESL students.
Right. So you've got a distribution list, that's called, for your that has your students in it.
Is that
so you would just need to create a distribution list that has your friends in it.
Okay, but is that distribution list in Zoom?
No, it would be in your email client.
Oh, okay. Okay, I get it.
What email client do you use? What email system?
Gmail. I use Gmail.
Gmail. So creating a distribution list at Gmail. I don't use Gmail on a daily basis because when I started using free email, Gmail didn't exist. But let me look this up. Anytime you want it,
What email do you use?
Yahoo.
Oh, okay.
Gmail's better. I mean, I'd love to use Gmail instead, but that Yahoo email address, my personal Yahoo email address, I've used so many places in so many ways that I'd never be able to notify everyone who has that email address, who needs it. I'd never be able to notify everyone to switch to the Gmail address. I'd lose track of people. My credit cards wouldn't work anymore, things like that.
Right, there's a problem there.
You're stuck. You know, I'm stuck. I can't. So, but anytime you want to know something about Gmail or Canvas or just about any other kind of software you might use, just go to Google and type in the question. Create distribution list in Gmail.
Okay,
Someone else has asked that question before.
Okay.
So you'll find a ton of answers to that.
Okay.
And you can put your friends' emails all into that distribution list, so it will behave as you describe. When you type the first few letters of the name of that list, it'll just pop up and you can send it to all of them at one time, not have to enter their email addresses separately every time.
Okay, great. Thank you so
Does that
much.
make sense?
Thank you. I have to go because I have another meeting shortly, but you are so clear and I've learned so much, and it's true with not that many participants, like I'm able to ask all my questions, and your explanations are excellent. You're like a great teacher.
You're very kind.
No,
Thank you. I really appreciate that coming from other teachers. That means a lot. So thank you.
Yeah, no, I've learned so much, and that's saying a lot for me because I have not been a computer literate person, but I'm getting there, I suppose.
Yeah, we don't have any other options now, do we?
Exactly. That's the only reason. All right. Thanks so much. I'm going to run. So Tuesday from 2 to 4 is your orientation. You said yesterday.
Yes, indeed.
Another orientation.
Oh, no, I think I believe it's Monday. It's
maybe you
4th.
said.
Yeah, it's Monday from 2 to 4. Right. Is the orientation for the faculty certification course.
Oh, okay, Monday. Sorry. All right. Thank you so much. I'll see you then.
All righty.
All right. Have a good weekend.
I'll look forward to seeing you. You too. Have a safe and happy one.
Yeah, you too. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I'm going too. So have a nice weekend.
Okay, you too.
Enjoy. It's great to have you today, Arda. Thanks for coming.
Thank you, Dave.
And Matiku, so long.